the scent of old paper and pipe tobacco. Even now, decades later, that specific combination can transport me back to my father's study, a tiny room packed floor to ceiling with books and a worn leather armchair where I'd sit on his lap. I must have been about 6 or 7, small enough to feel entirely enveloped by his arms. He'd read to me in a low, rumbling voice, his finger tracing the words, pausing sometimes just to hold me close. He made me feel like the most important thing in his world, a precious treasure. He built me a small dollhouse once, not fancy, just out of scrap wood, but he painted tiny windows and a working door. He taught me how to hold a hammer, how to measure twice and cut once. It wasn't just about the dollhouse, it was about showing me I could build things too. My mother, Eleanor, was there, of course, a beautiful woman with a bright laugh, bustling around the house, but my father's quiet presence was my anchor. He was my safe harbor, the first man I ever loved, the one who taught me my worth. That feeling of safety shattered like glass one Tuesday morning. My father was a foreman on a construction site. A structural beam collapsed unexpectedly. It was fast, I heard later. Too fast for goodbyes. One moment he was there, the next he was gone forever. The world went gray. The house that had felt so warm and full of life suddenly became cold, echoing with an absence I didn't fully understand but felt deep in my bones. My mother cried, of course. There were neighbors bringing casseroles, hushed voices, the heavy smell of lilies at the funeral home. For a few weeks, she seemed lost. But grief, I learned early, manifests differently in people. For my mother, it seemed to pave the way for a need to fill the void quickly. Within months, she was attending church mixers and community events with a new intensity. That's where she met David. David was quiet. Not in the comforting way my father was, but reserved. He was a widower too, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, careful in his movements. He never tried to replace my father, which I appreciated. He was always polite, always asked about school. When Eleanor told me we would be a family now, and maybe I could call him Dad David, the words felt like pebbles in my mouth. I tried a few times just to please her, but they never felt real. He was David. A year later, when I was 8, Eleanor announced she was pregnant. The words sounded foreign grown up. Soon, a pale blue crib dominated the spare room, and a tiny wrinkled, constantly wailing creature named Liam arrived. And that was when the real shift began. It wasn't gradual. It was immediate, like a switch flipping. My mother's entire focus, her energy, her very being became centered on Liam. Dinner conversations weren't about my school day or my father's memory anymore. They were about feedings, diaper changes, and pediatrician appointments. If I tried to talk about something important to me, a good grade, a drawing I was proud of, her eyes would already be drifting towards the living room where Liam was playing on the floor. Liam needs me became the standard reply to any request for her time or attention. At first, I tried to be understanding. I was just a kid, but I knew babies required more care. I kept telling myself it was just a phase. But the phase never ended. It deepened. Sunday morning pancakes, a tradition with my father, vanished. Often, Eleanor would forget to make breakfast for me at all, rushing around tending to Liam's morning routine. She'd offer a hurried, "Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry, Liam was up all night." I learned to swallow the hunger, grab a bowl of cold cereal, and tie my own crooked ponytail in the mirror. No one checked if I was okay before I left for school. No one asked if I had eaten. I was becoming a ghost in my own home. David saw it. His kind eyes held a perpetual sadness when he looked at me. He didn't confront Eleanor openly, but he started driving me to school some mornings, stopping at the little bakery for a muffin for me without saying a word. He was the one who remembered my 9th birthday with a small book I'd mentioned liking, while Eleanor was busy planning a half-birthday celebration for Liam. Once I had a fever so high I was shivering uncontrollably in bed. Eleanor was in the next room, rocking a fussing Liam. It was David who came in, felt my burning forehead, found the medicine, and stayed up with me, placing cool cloths on my head. The next morning, Eleanor just glanced at me and shrugged. Must be that bug going around. Liam slept poorly too. I didn't understand why. Why did everything I was, everything I needed, just fade away because he arrived? I yearned for her to look at me with the same adoration she looked at Liam, but that look never came. I retreated, becoming quieter, more self-sufficient. I started keeping a journal, at first just scribbling thoughts and feelings, but later, almost unconsciously, noting down the times I was overlooked or Liam was favored. It was a small act of recording my own existence in a house where I was being erased. The quiet resentment I felt in childhood hardened into a protective shell as I entered my teenage years. Liam's entitlement blossomed unchecked. He never had to do chores, never had to apologize, never faced consequences. The house was often a mess because Eleanor insisted he was too sensitive or just being a boy. Meanwhile, I was expected to manage my schoolwork, my activities, and an increasing list of chores, often including cleaning up after Liam. Arguments between Eleanor and David became common, sharp edges on the surface of our strained family life. David, no longer just quietly observant, began to voice his concerns more directly. Eleanor, I heard him say one night after Liam had left a trail of spilled juice and toys across the living room, he needs to learn responsibility. You can't keep doing everything for him. Eleanor's voice would immediately escalate, defensive and sharp. You think I'm spoiling him? He's different. He needs me. You're always siding with Grace. Their fights always circled back to the same core issue, Liam versus me, fueled by Eleanor's unwavering, almost aggressive favoritism. I stopped expecting fairness. Instead, I poured every ounce of my energy into building my own world outside that house. School became my sanctuary. I buried myself in books, joined the debate club, excelled in my classes. It wasn't just about getting good grades. It was about proving to myself, and maybe secretly to Eleanor, that I was capable. I did have worth, even if she didn't see it. My debate trophies and academic awards were never displayed with the same enthusiasm as Liam's crayon drawings or participation ribbons, but they were mine. I started a part-time job at the local library as soon as I was old enough, saving every dollar. Financial independence felt like the ultimate escape route. David continued to be my quiet ally. He couldn't change Eleanor, but he nurtured my independence. He helped me research universities late into the night. He bought me a used laptop for my schoolwork, a practical gift Eleanor called unnecessary. When I made the debate team finals, he was the only one in the audience, clapping louder than anyone. He told me he was proud of me, a simple sentence that meant the world because it was genuine. I set my sights on Temple University in Philadelphia. It wasn't too far away to cut ties completely, but far enough to finally breathe on my own terms. When I told Eleanor about my plans, she was immediately dismissive. College? The cost? Grace, be realistic. We need to focus on Mason's, on Liam's future. That takes priority. Her words were like a physical blow, echoing years of being told I wasn't the priority. David, however, didn't say anything in the moment. The next morning, he called me into his small den. On his desk was a stack of college brochures and a small, worn passbook. I've been putting a little away for years, he said softly, his eyes kind. Originally, it was for maybe fixing the roof, but I think this is more important. He pushed the passbook towards me. It wasn't a fortune, but it was his savings, saved painstakingly over years. Just promise me you'll go, he said. Don't let anyone tell you you can't build your own life. That night, when Eleanor found out David had given me his savings, she was incandescent with rage. I heard her yelling from my room. You're giving away our money for her? What about Liam? He's the one who needs things. David's voice was calm but firm, stronger than I'd ever heard it. That money was mine, Eleanor, and it's for Grace. She's had to fight for everything in this house, and I won't let her fight alone anymore. I lay in bed, a knot of emotion in my throat. Pain from Eleanor's words, but also a fierce, protective love for David and a burning determination not to waste his sacrifice. Aunt Caroline, Eleanor's older sister, called me a few days later. She didn't directly criticize Eleanor, but her voice was heavy with disapproval when she spoke about certain family dynamics. Your father would have been so proud of you, Grace, she said softly. Don't ever forget that. It was a small conversation, but it was another brick in the foundation of my resolve. I left for Temple at 18, packed my few belongings, David's passbook, and my journals documenting years of neglect. I didn't look back. College was hard, but it was mine. I worked tirelessly, juggling classes, 2 part-time jobs, and constantly applying for scholarships and grants. There were no forgotten breakfasts, no one asking me to clean up after someone else, no one dismissing my efforts. It was just me, building my own life, dollar by dollar, achievement by achievement. The freedom was intoxicating, even with the constant financial stress. I majored in business administration, drawn to the clear logic and control of finance. David called regularly. His voice grew heavier over the years. He'd update me on Liam, and it was never good news. Liam wasn't in school, wasn't working, still living at home, demanding money from Eleanor for everything: video games, expensive clothes, going out with friends. David spoke of debt piling up, Eleanor selling off his tools, his fishing gear, even jewelry that had belonged to my father, to cover Liam's expenses or get him out of minor trouble. He just expects it, David would sigh, his voice laced with a helplessness that broke my heart. Your mother, she just can't say no. She thinks she's helping him, but... He never finished that sentence, but I knew what he meant. She was destroying him, and dragging David down with them. Riley, my closest friend from college, listened patiently as I sometimes shared glimpses of my family life. Her reactions, shock, disbelief, quiet anger on my behalf, were a necessary mirror, showing me that my experience wasn't normal or okay. Grace, she said once, shaking her head, it's like she thinks you're some kind of limitless resource, not her daughter. Her words stung, but they were true. David sounded particularly strained in our last conversation. He hinted at significant financial trouble, things Eleanor had done without telling him. Grace, he said, his voice low, whatever you do, make sure you protect yourself. Your future. Don't let anyone to drain you dry. It felt like a premonition. A week later, Aunt Caroline called. David's in the hospital, Grace. It's bad. A heart attack at the construction site. He was working late, trying to make extra. Her voice trailed off. I took the first train I could. By the time I got there, it was over. Another heart attack, just like my father. David, the kind, quiet man who had been my only port in a storm, was gone. The funeral was a blur of grief and disconnect. Eleanor sobbed dramatically for the assembled crowd, talking about their perfect life together, while whispering to someone about bills that needed paying. Liam, now in his early 20s, sat slouched in a chair in an ill-fitting suit, scrolling through his phone, occasionally smirking at something. My grief for David was profound and private. Standing there, I felt utterly untethered. David was gone, and with him, any last fragile thread connecting me to that house. I didn't linger. I went back to Philadelphia and threw myself into work. My career took off. Within 2 years, I was promoted to a project manager position, earning a solid salary. I was meticulous with my finances, living frugally, saving aggressively. My goal was clear: a down payment on my own small condo, a place that would be truly mine, secure and free from the shadows of my past. Then the call came. It was a Wednesday evening, just as I was reviewing my budget spreadsheets. Eleanor's voice was shaky, full of feigned tears. Grace, oh Grace, we're in trouble. Real trouble. The house, it needs major repairs. The bills are everywhere. And Liam, he's still having such a hard time he can't work. The list of woes went on and on. She didn't ask if I was doing well, or even how I was. Just the problems. I don't know who else to turn to, she whimpered. I need $2,000 a month, Grace. Just until we get back on our feet. Please. I felt a wave of nausea and anger. $2,000? That was nearly half my take-home pay at the time, the bulk of what I was saving each month for my condo. It would stop my progress dead. Drawing on my financial training and the lessons learned, I didn't immediately say yes. Mom, I said, keeping my voice calm, what exactly are the expenses? What is the plan for Liam? How will this be temporary? She stammered, became defensive. Just bills. The house is falling apart. You have a good job, you can afford it. Don't you care about your family? The old guilt tactics. Despite every logical alarm bell, despite years of neglect, the plea, the implied emergency, wore me down. Plus, a tiny foolish part of me still hoped that helping might somehow, finally, earn me some sliver of recognition or gratitude. Okay, I finally said the word tasting like ash. But it's strictly temporary. And only for essential bills. I set up the recurring transfer, watching that significant sum vanish from my account each month, feeling the vice tighten on my own financial future. For the next 4 months, $2,000 disappeared from my account like clockwork. My dream of buying a condo receded into the distance. I canceled my gym membership, packed my lunches meticulously, said no to almost all social outings, and wore clothes until they were threadbare. The money I earned, the security I was building, was being siphoned away. Communication from Eleanor was minimal, usually just a brief text confirming the money arrived, or another complaint about some new, minor problem Liam was having. Never a thank you, never an update on how the money was actually helping or if Liam was making any effort to find work. The silence, punctuated only by requests for more, felt increasingly wrong. Added to that, Aunt Caroline made a casual comment during a phone call about seeing a photo Eleanor posted online, something about Liam and his girlfriend decorating their space. My stomach churned. Their space? My money was paying the bills, but what else? Driven by a growing sense of unease and suspicion, I decided to visit the house. I didn't announce it, and I brought nothing with me this time. This wasn't a visit of familial connection. It was an investigation. The front door was unlocked. I pushed it open and stepped into the living room. My breath hitched. It wasn't just messy. It was a state of deliberate chaos, pizza boxes, soda cans, snack wrappers everywhere. But it wasn't just neglect. Prominently displayed were brand new, expensive items that definitely were not there before. A massive, curved screen television mounted on the wall, sleek, modern leather recliner chairs, a high-end gaming system with all the accessories. My $2,000 a month had paid for this. Before I could fully process it, a young woman with brightly dyed hair and ridiculously long acrylic nails emerged from the kitchen, chewing gum loudly. She eyed me with bored curiosity. Hey, she said, not moving from the doorway. Can I help you? I'm Grace, I said, my voice tighter than I expected. I live here. She snorted, adjusting her too short shorts. Oh, you're Grace? Liam's sister? Yeah, his mom mentioned you. I'm Chloe. I live here now too. She didn't offer to move or invite me in properly. Chloe, Liam's girlfriend. Living here. All my money. Eleanor bustled in then from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Her face lit up, a flicker of the old warmth, before her eyes darted past me, checking if I'd brought anything. Grace. Oh, sweetie, you're here. Why didn't you call? She noticed my empty hands. Oh, well. Come in. She didn't wait for a reply before turning to Chloe. Chloe, isn't she just the sweetest? She's doing so well for herself. Then back to me, she beamed at Chloe. Chloe is such a blessing, Grace. She takes such good care of Liam. They've been living here together for a few months now, like a married couple. Like a married couple. In the house my money was supposedly saving. Dinner was a surreal experience. Liam remained in his room, the loud thumping of a video game bleeding through the door. It was just me, Eleanor, and Chloe. Chloe dominated the conversation, talking about her plans for a lifestyle blog, the expensive new gadgets Liam needed for his streaming career, and casually mentioning recent purchases, a new sound system, designer sneakers for Liam, things that added up to far more than Eleanor's claimed essential bills. Eleanor nodded along, beaming at Chloe, asking her opinion on things, treating her like a treasured daughter. I sat there, the food tasteless in my mouth, the conversation a painful echo chamber of how my hard-earned money was funding this absurd reality. I was being treated like a distant relative who might occasionally drop off groceries, while a stranger was being welcomed into the family home, living comfortably on my sacrifice. After dinner, I pulled Eleanor aside. Mom, I said, keeping my voice low and steady, I'm sending you $2,000 a month to help with essential bills, to keep the house afloat like you said. I'm not sending it so Liam and his girlfriend can live here, buy expensive toys, and do nothing. Eleanor's face hardened instantly. The warmth vanished, replaced by the familiar, cold defensiveness. Don't be selfish, Grace. You have a good job, doing fine. Liam needs stability. Chloe is helping him so much. You wouldn't understand. I understand that my money is being used to support a lifestyle of leisure while I'm sacrificing my own future. My voice rose slightly. This isn't what we agreed to. Then don't send it, she snapped back, her eyes blazing. But don't come crying to me when you have no family left. I stared at her, the raw callousness of her words hitting me hard. No family left? She had dismantled it piece by piece over the years. There was nothing left to lose. I didn't reply. I just turned and walked out of the house, the place that was supposed to be home, now feeling colder and more foreign than ever. The weeks after that visit were a blur of cold fury and reinforced determination. Every time I saw that $2,000 deduction in my bank statement, the image of Chloe lounging on the new sofa in front of the massive TV flashed in my mind. My suspicion deepened. Why were they so comfortable? Was it just my $2,000, or was there something else going on? I remembered David's quiet advice about protecting myself, securing my future. I had already started keeping meticulous records of the money I'd sent and Eleanor's requests. Now, I focused on getting to the bottom of things. Drawing on my business background and fueled by a burning need for truth, I decided my next visit wouldn't be a tentative check-in. It would be an investigation. I needed to understand the full financial picture, starting with the house itself. I knew David had handled most of the financial paperwork when he was alive. Where would he keep important documents? My father's old study? David's den? I drove up the following weekend, again unannounced. The door was still unlocked, typical. The house was still in a state of messy neglect, the expensive new items glaringly out of place. I bypassed the living room, my heart pounding, and went straight to David's den. It was messy, papers strewn everywhere. I started looking through drawers, filing cabinets, searching for anything related to the house deed, finances, or legal documents. My hands were shaking when I found a heavy envelope tucked away in a bottom drawer. It was labeled Last Will and Testament. Not David's. It had Eleanor's name on it. My stomach plummeted. Why was this hidden away? I pulled out the document, my eyes scanning the dense legal text, searching for my name, for any mention of me. I found Liam's name easily, mentioned multiple times. My mother's name, Eleanor Harper. Liam Harper, referred to as my beloved son. And then the clause that hit me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. I hereby give, devise, and bequeath all of my property, both real and personal, including but not limited to the family home located at address, all bank accounts, investments, and possessions, to my son, Liam Harper. All. Everything. To Liam. My name wasn't there. Not a single line acknowledging my existence, the years I'd lived in that house, the money I was currently pouring into it. It was all for him. This document wasn't new. The date on it was over a year old. She had cut me out completely before she started demanding $2,000 a month from me. Just as the full weight of the betrayal crashed down on me, Eleanor walked in, followed closely by Chloe. They stopped, seeing the will in my hand, seeing my face. Grace? What are you doing? Eleanor's voice was sharp, immediately suspicious. I held up the paper, my hand trembling uncontrollably. What is this, Mom? Is this real? You left everything to Liam? Everything? And nothing for me. My voice cracked on the last word. Eleanor sighed, a sound of impatience. Oh, that. Yes, it's real. Don't make a fuss, Grace. You're fine. You have a career. You have money. Liam needs to be secure. He's not as capable as you are. Rage, cold and sharp, surged through me, cutting through the pain. Fine? I'm fine? I spent my childhood being ignored and cleaning up after him. I worked 3 jobs in college while he did nothing. David sacrificed his savings for me because you wouldn't. I built my life from scratch with zero help from you. And now, when I'm finally building some security, you demand $2,000 a month to support this. I gestured wildly around the messy den, towards the sounds of Liam's gaming. To support him doing nothing and his girlfriend living here like a queen, while you had already cut me out completely? Eleanor straightened, her face hard, devoid of any warmth. You want the truth, Grace? Fine. Liam needs me. He needed me more. You were always independent, always strong. You didn't need my help, you didn't need my love the way he does. Love isn't always equal, and I don't owe you anything just because you're my daughter. Your father spoiled you, made you think you were special. You should be grateful you're doing well, not demanding things. Her words were a punch to the gut, confirming every insecurity, every fear of being unloved I'd carried for years. It wasn't just neglect. It was a conscious, deliberate choice. And her twisted justification, blaming my strength, my independence, even my dead father's love, was more sickening than simple cruelty. Chloe, who had been watching with a smirk, chimed in, "Yeah, Grace. Tommy needs all the support he can get. It's hard being so sensitive." That was it. The final straw. The complete lack of empathy, the entitlement, the blatant exploitation laid bare. I looked at Eleanor, my own mother, who saw me only as a cash machine she could discard when convenient. I looked at Chloe, smirking, ready to live off the crumbs of my sacrifice. I looked towards Liam's closed door. There was nothing left here for me. Nothing but pain and contempt. "You're right, Mom," I said, my voice now ice cold. "I don't need your help. I don't need your love. And you clearly don't need mine or my money." I let the wolf fall from my hand onto the messy floor. "You made your choice years ago. Now I'm making mine." I turned and walked out, leaving them standing there among the wreckage of their choices and my broken past. I drove back to my apartment in a daze. The city lights were a blur. All I could feel was the raw wound of betrayal, but beneath it, a hardening resolve. There were no tears. There was just a cold, clear certainty. It was over. All of it. The moment I got inside, I went straight to my laptop. I logged into my online banking. My finger hovered over the recurring transfer for $2,000. I clicked cancel. No hesitation, no second thoughts. As the confirmation message popped up, a strange sense of lightness filled the room, as if a suffocating weight I hadn't realized I was carrying had been lifted. That $2,000 wasn't a responsibility anymore. It was my possibility. The possibility of a down payment, of financial security, of a future entirely built by me for me. The silence that followed the cancellation lasted less than 24 hours. Then the storm hit. My phone started vibrating incessantly. Calls from Eleanor. Texts. Voicemails. They started subtly. "Grace? Is something wrong with the transfer?" Quickly escalating to demanding, "The money isn't here. I need it. Did you forget?" Then accusatory, "You canceled it, didn't you? How could you? We're going to lose the house." Then came Liam's texts. Entitled and whiny. "Mom's freaking out. What did you do? You're ruining everything over a few bucks. Nice job, sis." Chloe joined in, messaging me on social media, sending emails. "I can't believe you're doing this. Tommy is having a breakdown. You're seriously messed up if you think this is okay. Try being a decent human being for once." They escalated their tactics. Eleanor sent photos of overdue bills, electricity shut-off notices, mortgage statements. "See, this is your fault. You're killing me." Liam left rambling, angry voicemails. Chloe tried contacting Riley on social media, spinning a story about my supposed cruelty. They even tried calling my office number, though I had warned my receptionist to filter my calls carefully. It was a full-court press of guilt, manipulation, and abuse. But I didn't respond. Not to a single call, text, or email. I had said all I needed to say in that den. There was nothing left to explain, nothing left to justify. Every message they sent, every voicemail they left, only reinforced that I had made the right decision. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as a resource they were entitled to exploit. One by one, calmly and deliberately, I blocked their numbers. I blocked their email addresses. I blocked them on every social media platform I could think of. It wasn't an act of anger anymore. It was an act of self-preservation. An act of finally building a boundary around the life I had fought so hard to create. It hurt, of course. The finality of it was a dull ache in my chest. Losing the idea of a family, even a dysfunctional one, was a bereavement in itself. But the peace that settled over me as the calls and messages finally stopped was immeasurable. The $2,000 a month was back in my budget, a tangible symbol of my freedom. It meant I could finally start saving for that condo again, secure my own future, honor David's memory by living the independent life he encouraged me to build. Riley was there for me, listening, validating my feelings, reminding me that I deserved peace and happiness. Aunt Caroline sent a quiet, knowing email, expressing her support without needing many details. I wasn't alone. I had built my own support system, my own chosen family. The past is a scar, a reminder of neglect, betrayal, and the painful lessons learned. But it no longer dictates my future. I am Grace. I am capable. I am independent. And I am finally truly free.